Usually the concept of growing your self-confidence or self-esteem through NLP or actually any other kind of self-help technique is to come back to the idea of visualizing success, as if it was the only thing that was going to bring you to where you want. And although visualizing success does have some moments, some places where it is important, from my experience, it is not the one thing that is really going to attract abundance or confidence or the woman you want in your bed or whatever it is that you are after. It is more complicated. The thing, in my opinion, is that confidence and self-esteem is kind of the natural states we all have as a child. It's not really so much something to learn. It is more something to unlearn. Or should I say, there are things blocking your self-confidence right now that you can unlearn or unload. Any type of huge change I have done in my life and in the life of others through coaching and therapy was quite often, if not always, much more about removing things than adding more. So the main technique I have used, or techniques I have used over the years to grow self-confidence, has more tried to, first of all, identifying the main situation in which you think you're not confident, because I can guarantee if you feel like you have a low self-esteem or stuff like that, I can already guarantee, even without seeing you right now, that there is one type of situation that keeps coming back in which you are maybe less confident. But if we take you yourself playing with video games with your kids or with your friends, you probably have more confidence in that situation than in the one you think you are low self-esteem into. So which situation clearly is the one in which you are not as confident as you wish, or you don't have a high self-esteem? What is that situation? And we want to break it down into pieces, because whatever big problem there is in your life, it is always way easier to handle if you break it down into small pieces and tackle them one by one. Also, the other big thing is to notice, when did it start? If you have this situation in mind in which you feel like you don't really have the confidence you would like to have, can you pinpoint when did it start? Did it start just after high school, for example, or literally when you were a kid? But quite often it is not throughout your whole life that you had this problem. It was usually after one type of specific event, or the lack of a specific event. If you were waiting to be admitted in college or to graduate or to have this position at work in your job and you did not succeed at having it, then maybe after that your unconscious mind created a narrative, or your conscious mind actually, and you started noticing more clues of, oh, I am not a confident person, or I have low self-esteem. But it always originates in one specific event that used to have brought you down. But this event is only pinpointing, is only translating itself through similar moments or new events in your life that are equaling, that are mirroring that thing that happened to you at some point in your life. So what is the main thing that happened to you that usually really put you in a state of being more defensive or more like feeling worthless to some extent? And once you can pinpoint exactly what it was, there is a process I have designed in my book, Covert Hypnosis in Real Life, that you can find on Amazon, where I break down how can you deconstruct a big fear or a big low self-esteem state into a series of smaller points. For example, you can just write down all the phrases you use to describe that negative state in which you think you don't have confidence or you feel like you have low self-esteem. You just write down all the excuses, even if you may not consider them excuses, because you may feel like, no, it is real life. Yeah, it is real life, but it is excuses. But let's say it is not excuses, just the phrases you use to explain what is happening to you in those circumstances. Even if you feel like it is not coming from you, it is because people are rejecting you, or they rejected you, or people see you and they think you are not worth it. Yeah, but what specifically, how would you describe that? One example I have here is on chapter 8 of the book. For example, it's impossible for me to get that promotion at work. Or I can't finish first, I'm too slow. I'm too afraid to try it, whatever it is, it's too difficult. Just write down all the things that are going through your mind, your monkey mind always like talking endlessly about all those negative things you have in your life, all the things you think are negative, and you just pinpoint all of them one by one. Then what you do is you highlight or you underline. For example, you just underline all the most negative terms. It's impossible, I can't, I'm too afraid, terrible person, all those really highly charged negative words. Then you just write the direct opposite. So if it was I can't finish first, then you write down as an opposite, I finish first, I'm more than fast enough for that. Or the opposite of it's impossible to get that promotion at work, I do get that promotion at work easily and rapidly. For example, you just write something different, and so far you might think, oh yeah, but it's not worth it because it's still not my life, it's just a projection. Yes, but what we are going to do next is to turn it into a question. When you use open-ended questions, it is kind of a tricky thing that forces your brain to answer it even unconsciously. So when you are, for example, exposed on the wall to one question, and every day when you wake up, you see that question over and over again, your brain will just find more and more excuses, in that sense, to verify that this is true, or to find an answer to the question. So if you have written, how can I get that promotion at work easily? Because the phrase was, I get that promotion at work easily and rapidly. So now you turn it into a question, how can I get that promotion at work easily and rapidly? Or how can I finish first and become fast enough? What can I do to become a wonderful person if you were feeling like I'm a terrible person? You just write, for example, those questions on a wall somewhere, and you make sure you see them every day. What's very interesting is that you are going to find more and more answers and more reasons to justify that the answer to those questions can actually be true, can be verified. And it's a matter of conditioning, of course, too. You may need to also write them down a few times, or maybe listen to you, recording yourself and listening to you, saying the answers of those questions. And when you listen to the recording, you notice if your voice really sounds like it means it. And you do that two or three times in 1 week, or 4 or 5 times. And you're going to notice that at some point, the tone of the voice you have is like more grounded, because when you rehearse something more and more often, it works better. But so basically the idea is to deconstruct that state in which you feel like you're not confident or you have low self-esteem. You deconstruct that state into a series of small pinpoints, or small points, small bullet points, or small questions, or small phrases, limiting beliefs, or excuses, and you deconstruct all of them. It's always about breaking down to smaller pieces until the pieces you are dealing with are very easy to deal with. So you break those big problems into very small phrases, and then you do this whole process of outlining exactly what it is in that phrase that is really charged, emotionally negatively charged, and then you turn it around. You play with it, as we do in NLP. We just tweak and play with the words, with how the mind works, until we find a breakthrough. And once you find this breakthrough, you can just elaborate new strategies in your life to make it more compelling and to make it more alive, to make it more consistent. I hope this was helpful, and if you have some questions, you can ask them in the comments, and I will see if I can answer them in the best I can.